And welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, today we are discussing what everybody really has been talking about, the sudden resignation of former Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar. Why did he resign suddenly, an overnight resignation? What could be the rumors, the reason behind it? We've all heard the speculation. Could it be with the impeachment of Justice Verma, the fact that he admitted the opposition's motion against the impeachment, taking away the glory from the government, which wanted to be responsible, the mover behind the resolution as it was in the Lok Sabha? That is one reason. The other reason is that there were little altercations between the government and Dhankar that reached a flashpoint. But a flashpoint on the first day of the monsoon session, and a resignation that was first made on social media, not announced, say, by the Prime Minister's office or Rashtrapati Bhavan, not given, the kind of narrative building that this government really likes to do. The Prime Minister himself took 15 hours to respond and wish Dhankar all the best for his health. Dhankar's health, we could see visibly so. He was in good health. So, what really happened? And also, what is the larger message behind this resignation? Because this is really the first scandal to hit the Modi government in the headlines. Even Satpal Malik, when he spoke out, was post his, he'd been removed from office as J&K governor. He was a disgruntled employee. Here, it was clearly show that, he was midterm in office. Jagdish Dhankar took the decision to resign. There was a face-off. This is not the standoff, the headlines that the Prime Minister would have wanted, especially at the start of a parliament session. So what went wrong? Well, we have people here who know a little bit what's happening on the inside. They know, we've been keen watchers and analysts. Joining me on the show is Dilip Cherian. He's an image guru, a political analyst and a commentator. Sandeep Ghosh, political columnist and commentator. Javed Ansari, senior journalist, and of course, someone who's keenly watches what is happening within parliament. Ashutosh, someone whose show we all watch very keenly on Satya Hindi, and a political commentator. Ashutosh, you've been hearing a lot of the buzz and the rumors, so I'm going to really begin with you because I was there on your show last night and we got a lot of good feedback. So, what really happened? What do you think happened? You're muted, Ashutosh.
Yes. See, Priya, we are all journalists and we are not rumor peddlers. So I know I can only share things which I know, which I could confirm, and which I find confirmed.
I can't resist saying Ashutosh gave away the secret while he was on silent. It is for us to read his lips and make out because he's
Yeah,
not going to say that.
well said,
So
Sandeep.
see the whole story which is being told, that something has happened in the Monday and that's why government was so upset, and that he was he either he resigned or the government asked him to resign. I think that story is not palatable to me. I'm witness to certain informations, and the last week I was with somebody and I was told that Mr. Dhankar is extremely upset, and he not only upset but he's felt very humiliated and insulted. Obviously, the person concerned did not tell me who humiliated me, because a man of that stature, holding a constitutional position number 2 in the country, no ordinary leader of the BJP and no ordinary leader in the opposition or in the government would have dared to do something to him. So obviously, somebody very, very powerful must have said something to him, and he must have felt very humiliated and insulted. And I was told that he was literally in tears, and he didn't know what to say and how to say. So he was pouring out his heart. But what I was told, that this is not happening. This is not happened for the first time, but this has been happening with him for a very, very long time. And so he was very upset. If you this has and the resignation on the Monday is a culmination of many things. Now, what is something troubling is that the somebody who had done everything the government wanted him to do. In fact, he jeopardized his career by being too openly partisan in the Rajya Sabha. Then the government brought almost 2 impeachment motions against him, which obviously didn't succeed. So somebody was willing to do so many things for the government, and who had gone out of his way to antagonize Mamata Banerjee, to paint Mamata Banerjee as a villain, as a vamp, and saw to it that Mamata Banerjee got so upset, desperate, that he in fact blocked his Twitter account, blocked him from the Twitter account. So somebody was willing to do so many things for him. Why he was so upset, and why the people in the government were so antagonistic to him, that they had gone to the extent of humiliating and insulting him. That's a mystery which I have not been able to unravel. I'm privy to certain other information, but unless I confirm those informations, I'm not going to just indulge into sharing those information. But I can tell you, this is not a one-day phenomena. More than 6-7 months, something was festering, and which culminated finally into his resignation.
Okay, Sandeep, I take Ashutosh's point that this is something, which had been building up. But there is a flashpoint that happened that pushed him over the edge, because if it was something building up slowly, he could have resigned 2 days before the monsoon session. He had no plans of resigning till about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon of the first day. So there is something that pushed him over the edge, really. And it could be a personal insult. It could be something to do with his family. We've seen all kinds of speculation. What have you heard, and what do you, the whatever, basically, what do you think happened?
Priya, I'm not privy to any of the inside stories with Ashutosh, and many of our co-panelists would have who move around the power circuit over there. I can only draw inferences from the various observations one is seeing, and whatever one has seen of Mr. Dhankar now or when he was in Calcutta, from reasonably kind of maybe closer quarters than what I see him in Delhi. So therefore, first of all, I would say that I wouldn't attach too much weightage to Ashutosh's the feedback he got about his being almost in tears and getting very upset because he is capable of those sort of histrionics which we have seen even in his interactions with Mamata Banerjee. He has invoked that kind of thing. That is something which maybe that's his style. It comes to him, but at the same time, as some other close commentators and who have known him for over 40 years, right from his lawyer days, he's a very deep person. Nobody should mistake him to be, one of those very simpleton farmers, or as he tries to call himself of that. He is a very, very, sharp, deep, and he knows what he's trying to do. So there is always a method to his emotions or that sort of a thing. Now, what one can therefore, what I'm intrigued by is first of all the government's thing about him. When you put somebody in the position of vice president, and he was like a draw from out, it's a very surprise choice. And he was pulled, it was like a wild card entry. He was brought in. So there would have been a lot of thought or whatever would have gone in behind his selection. And if the government especially wanted to make use of him in the Rajya Sabha in the manner which we all think. Now, therefore, did he go rogue? Or did something else happen? Partly, all these things which we are, there are various stories obviously getting planted or, being selectively leaked. I was reading somebody who was again close to the government, Rajat Sharma, talking about, how Dhankar was acting in a manner, projecting himself to be acting at the behest of the government, but he was exceeding his brief and is on his own brief, which I don't totally buy. If he did the same kind of act in West Bengal, and if he that did not have the endorsement of the government, he would not have been picked after all that. If he was seen to act on his own man, act on his own brief, they would not have risked somebody like him to put him into the hot seat of vice chairman. So
Correct.
this theory that he was embarrassing the government, creating a tension between judiciary and this and the opposition, all of that, I don't think he would have acted without. Now over there, so there was so those don't really add up. But what I think. Another of your friends, Nija Chaudhary, said somewhere that Dhankar had acquired a larger than life, image for himself. He came in as an unknown entity. He came in as people thought like
Surely
a
all
little bit
that,
of a
Sandeep, would not be a reason for that,
no, no, no. So therefore, I'm just coming just as close in half a minute. So therefore, because of that, some kind of inflated sense of self-importance, he suddenly saw himself in the power structure. His ambition may have grown, and he may have been trying to do something. Where this whole thing comes about, the government felt either threatened or there was something going to happen immediately, and that is where the breaking point did. So he may have been feeling, jilted, or if, there are various little stray things people say that he was not called for JD Vance's to meet JD Vance or various other stuff. Now, because of that, if he was also trying to do posturing, sending messages to the government by meeting a Kejriwal, meeting Kharge, talking to Jairam Ramesh of the world, and whatever was transpiring was going to happen in Parliament, the government either had a wind of something larger, or he was breaching that line, and that is where things would have snapped, is my educated or uneducated guess, as you might say.
Okay, we're all in that gray area. But Dilip, the larger message from Dhankar's resignation, as I said earlier, this is not the way Prime Modi would have wanted this to play out. Even if he wanted Dhankar out, he would have planned the exit in the terms of narrative building in the way that, showed that PMO was in control. Here, it's clearly things are going out of control. The center cannot hold really in this case.
Priya, for a moment, since all of us are analysts and commentators, let's
Hmm.
turn this thing on its head. What is
Huh?
the advantage to government from this move? I think you have a situation where everybody inside close or all the way up to Rashtrapati Bhavan is now quaking. If Dhankar can be dispatched in a public execution where the guillotine is set up just outside Parliament House, then nobody is safe in a sense. So I think that probably the reason to do this in this manner is also because there are so many other balls currently in the air, whether it's retirement at 75, whether it is election of party president, selection of party president, whatever it is. The fact is that this has sent a message to the rank and file that you can be as useful to us as you may attempt to be in your
Hmm.
role as groveling governor or as sort of a weeping vice president. It doesn't matter. The fact is that you will be reduced to where there can be credibility to rumors, completely fake, of course, that your kitchen has been sealed on the day after your exit. So I think that if you look at what has actually happened in real politics, and I'm sure Javed will come in on this, I think that uh, the big message that has gone out, if you turn this thing into what is the advantage to government, is
Hmm.
this. Keep in mind also that we have credible evidence that till 7 p.m. that evening, Dhankar had, at least his office, had no clue that he was resigning. So,
Right.
uh, that's the second bit. The third bit is that we know that besides the JD Vance issue, there was also an issue of some booking made for him when he was traveling abroad. And then MEA had to say that these bookings are made by the host country and that the hotel chosen was not, a downgrade done by MEA. So I think that Dhankar has been sensing what Ashutosh referred to as hits and hurts for a
Hmm.
period of time. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was definitely the Jairam Ramesh move of producing those 50 signatures, which, in terms of parliamentary practice, he had no choice except to accept.
Good. In fact, Javed, apart from what you heard on Dhankar, this Jairam Ramesh's move is very intriguing. The fact that he was the instigator behind the opposition MPs making that signature plea for impeachment. What are the games that he is playing over here, and does it have the party's backing?
It was not unilateral on it. He couldn't have acted on his own. Of
He
Mr.
does
Dhak,
often act on his own.
but on something
Signatures.
as substantive as this, getting 50 plus opposition MPs to sign, Jairam Ramesh with all his clout is not capable
Cannot.
unless he has the green light from the leadership, he couldn't have.
Okay.
And there is a backstory to this. Mr. Dhankar has been in touch, has been unburdening himself to certain leaders of the opposition, prominent leaders of opposition. He's been sharing his insults, real or perceived. He's been crying about the fact that he's being deliberately downsized, deliberately snubbed, deliberately embarrassed, deliberately sidelined. He also mentioned the fact that, in various places, uh, even his mug is not there. Usually you have portraits of the president, the vice president, the prime minister. And he says, "Sabki photo hai, chaprasi ki bhi photo hai, meri nahi hai." And
No.
Mr. Dhankar in his own style has been the irony is that given his past record, it took the opposition very long to actually realize that there was something amiss. Every time he'd unburden or share his anguish with them, They thought that he was pulling a fast one, because he's known to do this in Bengal as well. And the fact that Mr. Dhankar realized to his great cost that in the present dispensation, loyalty is a one-way street. You are expected to bend at the knee. You are expected to go out of your way, even at the cost of your personal prestige and image. But from the other side, don't at all. Mr. Dhankar, for large parts of his tenure, had forgotten the difference between supine and spine. And ironically, when he developed a spine, he paid the price that we all know that he is. He's been talking to the opposition. In fact, the Prime Minister at one of the banquets, and now this is again hearsay, I have not been invited to a banquet under this dispensation for the last 11.5 years. Maybe Priya, you might be privy to this, or may have heard
No,
this,
no.
that he was served. PM says, "बहुत meeting चल रही है."
I heard that
Now,
rumor, yes.
yes, बहुत meeting चल रही है. So he's been Mr. Dhankar he confided to somebody that, it's gotten so bad that I can't even have a painting of my choice in my office. He says, even that is dictated to me. He says, the route I take from Parliament and back is even decided. I don't have a say in this. So everything, he says, even for somebody with his shock observers, he says, I was not, this pressure was getting just too much to him. But that leader also, like most people, didn't believe Mr. Dhankar till the bombshell dropped. And the bomb dropped because of that terse telephonic exchange where he was almost ordered. He was left with no option but to put in his papers, because he was aware that these signatures are being taken. The vice president, the former vice president, was also felt that every move of his was being monitored, that taps were being kept on him, that he was downside, he wasn't allowed a meeting with the visiting vice president of the United States. Dhankar felt this was a deliberate slight, that this was not just a breach of protocol, but this was personally directed. This was the insult directed at him to put him in his place. And Dhankar, being Dhankar, it got so bad that he even got the better of Dhankar's patient. For somebody with his shock observers, even he couldn't take it anymore. And for those who believe that he erred by not sending his resignation to PM, he doesn't. The Vice President of India does not report to the Prime Minister of India. He's above the Prime Minister of India in the order of precedence. His boss is the President of India, and he did just the right thing. And look at the alacrity with which his resignation was accepted. Within an hour and a half, the President accepted it. No effort was made to grant him an audience, to at least hear him out on what the problem was. So obviously the President must have sought the government's opinion. Government said, please go ahead. And the next morning we had the kind of tweet. And Mr. Modi, it's become customary on his part to give vice presidents a not very convivial send-off. I don't want to cite further examples because there will be a conflict of interest there, but
I know. I think you really said that very well. Let's not forget the reactions he's had. A tiff with the Vice President office from Hamid Ansari to even Venkaiah Naidu, I would say, in that sense, because when Venkaiah was sent off, it was clear he wanted.
The hallmark of this government is it doesn't choose statecraft. It chooses the hammer. What can be solved by a goldsmith, they employ the hammersmith method.
On that very provocative note, I'm going to take a break, but come back and keep this conversation going. So stay with us. Hello and welcome back to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. We are trying to solve the mystery of this, the mystery that is being talked about, the sudden resignation of former Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar. And, all the things that Javed just said, Ashutosh, are things which any cabinet colleague would tell him, don't take it personally. This surveillance, is not being allowed to choose your own painting, your route, where you're going, who you get to meet. This is something PMO decides for everybody, not just, I guess, Vice President by his office, or the fact he wasn't a ingrained, BJP RSS RSS Karyakarta. He couldn't take it. What is the larger message really from this? And what do you see the government doing in terms of the next vice president? You're on mute, Ashutosh.
See, Priya, I was really surprised because I always thought that Jagdeep Dhankhar is a very wily politician. From non-entity to jumping to suddenly become the vice president of the country is a meteoric success story. It's a meteoric success story because last time he held a post important was under the VP Singh and the Chandrasekhar's government, and since then, for the last 25 years, he was in wilderness. So he got one opportunity and managed to become the vice president. The mistake which he committed is that when he forgot that the puppets have no right to think that they are the living being. Puppets are puppets and controlled by somebody else. Their every move of a puppet is controlled by somebody else. They have no autonomy, they have no freedom. And when the puppet started thinking, no, now I have become the vice president, so seriously, I have my own thinking, I have my own life, and I can behave the way I want. This government, since 2014, everybody knew that everybody is watched. You know the story of Rajnath Singh and the story of many other cabinet colleagues. That somebody was going in the t-shirt and suddenly got a phone that you are not nicely dressed. Please go and dress nicely dressed. You know those stories. And that story didn't appear in 2024. It appeared in 2014, just after the government was formed. So when he started behaving like this, I think that's a mistake he made. And during this, he wanted to share. And don't forget it. The problem with the Dhankar, another problem was that Dhankar was not born and brought up into the RSS discipline. He wasn't the product of a shakha. He was basically a socialist by nature. And socialists by nature, they can't keep their mouth shut. They always badmouth their colleagues. And that's why the socialist movement in this country has gone for a toss. And RSS could remain one. BJP had never split ever because there are certain discipline, certain decorum, certain decency which the party follow and which their leaders follow. So he being a socialist, and suddenly he realized that he has become too big, and now he can have certain autonomy, had gone against him. The message is two-way. The first message is now there is a message across the table that Narendra Modi and Amit Shah grip over the party and the government is slipping. Otherwise, a man like Dhankar, who was willing to do anything if he could defy and could become assertive and was forced to resign, itself a story nobody had done earlier. Like Sushma Swaraj left, and Sumitra Mahajan, Sushma Swaraj, Venkaiah Naidu, all of them, even your friend Harshvardhan, all of them had gone in oblivion, and there was no hue and cry. And everybody knows they were forced to leave politics. The second point is, I think that the message which Mr. Narendra Modi wants to convey not only to the BJP, but to the RSS also, as long as I'm here on the chair, my diktat will run. If anybody thinks that they can browbeat Modi and Amit Shah, that will not work. Which of these two stories becomes a dominant narrative in the future, nobody knows. But this has certainly shows that Mr. Narendra Modi is on decline, and he has weakened as a prime minister, as a leader, and as a politician.
Sandeep, would you agree with this? And secondly, do you see a link between the next BJP chief and the next vice president? Will there be a trade-off between the RSS and the BJP? You get one post, we get one post, or will it be, someone the number two choice of both?
First of all, reacting to Ashutosh's statement, I agree to it in parts. I agree. I take some of the points, though, despite being a BJP and Modi supporter, of what he said towards the end, and I would like to give my reflection on that. But the first part, I think, it's a bit ironical that when people have got no problem in groveling before a dynasty, and they don't worry about who's observing them, not observing them, whether somebody is giving them a cup of tea or not even meeting them, or giving biscuits to the dog or whatever it is. Those are all kosher.
That's a very old story you pulled out.
No, that is one. That's just one example. There are several such examples. Siddaramaiah coming and going and whatever. We know exactly today if Jairam Ramesh can call the shots over all elected leaders, or people over there. Shashi Tharoor gets those kind of jabs and all of that. So it's all kosher and that's pure democracy. And there everything is allowed. Whereas here, if something like that is done, it's being a huge travesty of freedom, democracy, etc. I find that a bit difficult to reconcile, and that is where the problem, I think, arises. Because in the Vajpayee era, I think people who came in, they were all, they thought that, okay, now we are free to act on our own within our thing. It is only somewhere, I think Modi, this is where they're trying to set the boundaries, the parameters, the coordinates there. And the reason for that, some of it could be arising out of what Ashutosh was talking. It's either the perceived or real, I wouldn't get into it. There is some feeling which has tried to be fomented right from 2024 Lok Sabha election, that Modi is weakened and Modi is no longer under that sort of control. Initially, people were saying this openly, like Rahul Gandhi commenting about somebody throwing something at Modi in Varanasi, saying, see, dar hat gaya, people are no longer afraid of him, etc. But then once again, after Maharashtra and all of those things happened, I think there was a comeback. Now they think because of Operation Sindoor, whatever the take there and what's happening on the international scene, Modi may be again on a difficult wicket. And within the party, I think Dilip said whether it's a 75 call or people say there are rumblings of pro Rajnath, pro Gadkari, all these kind of rumbling. People think there could be something brewing, the delay in the selection of the president. And therefore, probably here there could have been an overreaction, or as Javed said, using the hammer when you could have used small instrument over there, is perhaps also to sometime to send out a larger message. I'm sure you have an equivalent in Hindi. In Bengali, we say you hit the daughter to teach the wife a lesson. So sometimes you do that. So this could have been an exaggerated slap on somebody to give a larger message, as Ashutosh and everybody said, to that people relax, don't get antsy.
Okay. Dilip, the two scenarios that Ashutosh said, either it shows the Modi government is on a weak wicket, or that they are, they can even attack someone like Dhankar is not safe in his office, a constitutional office. Which message would you take away?
I would take the message that you are reasserting what Sandeep is talking about, your control over the party in a way and at a time of your choosing. So, instrumentality is something that you've always opted for, which is a public, as I said, a public beheading. So there is no problem with that. We talked about the Sushma exit and others exit, but nothing has been heard of them after their exits. When in case Sushma's of course passed away, but whether it's Harshvardhan and many others, they've just been disposed of, and we don't know when to exhume any bodies. The other thing is that Dhankar, in a sense, was a low-hanging fruit because he did not come from the stable of the RSS. He had risen well past his his pay grade, as it were, to get to this position. So needing to tolerate even a kind of a hint of trouble from him would have allowed those less or more trained in the ways of discipline to also get antsy. So I think that is the scenario I would go with. That why are you displaying that? That could be the reason, as Ashutosh said, that there are hints of other problem areas. We forgot to bring Yogi into this whole discussion, but even he has an interest one way or the other to watch how this thing goes. So I think that we will see that in the next few weeks, whether, as Sandeep said, that the forces tend to gather and gleefully predict a quick dispatch of a leadership. Whether it is the U.S. trade deal, whether it is Operation Sindoor, whether it is whatever it is. So I think that's the situation we need to watch for.
What are the markers that Javed, that you will be watching out for? I mean, I don't think anybody here is saying that this is, there's going to be leadership change in the BJP. But is there going to be a weaker Modi Shah at the helm? And what were you going to be looking for the next BJP chief, for instance, the next VP? What are the signs that will tell you, where the BJP is headed?
Well, for one, the next VP will be a hardcore BJP RSS man. He won't be an import from outside. Certainly, they appear to have learned the lessons. And I'm just wondering, intrigued. I mean, this is just a thought. Sandeep ji, you will be better equipped to answer this. This sudden spurt, Smriti Irani's emergence from the shadow, the sudden spate of interviews from all the top-ranking Noida channels. Suddenly, she's been rediscovered. What is it? Is it a mere coincidence? Because in BJP, these things don't happen just for the heck of it, So I don't know. But certainly, I do believe that whoever Mr.
But
Modi
isn't
will have.
Smriti Irani doing it to promote her movie, her serial, and
I don't
not
know
really
if
a
she.
BJP?
Maybe. This is a thought that crossed my mind.
Uh,
And rather than any this preemptive move or this sledgehammer approach was meant to send a signal down the line to those who feel that Mr. Modi is getting weakened. There is already it's a well-documented tussle on who will be the president, who will be the next, who
BJP
will be
president.
selected as the next president of the BJP. Selected, not elected, because they're never elected. BJP
Right.
presidents are never elected. So all those looking for signs of weakness, this was meant as a message that we are still in charge, very much in control, and we will have it our way. And that, this business much will depend on how how this plays out, what Mr. Dhankar does next. As it is, the opposition has started saying, no, this is customary. We cannot break from tradition. Not only must government explain circumstances leading to the resignation of the vice president, but also we must give him a farewell.
I saw that. The
They
Congress especially, yeah.
No, not just Congress. Akhilesh Yadav, even the Trinamool Congress, which has
Been at loggerheads.
more than an axe to grind against Mr. Dhankar. All of them have now got together. They want to provide him a platform. And then there is already this thing doing the rounds. I saw Mr. Tiket's statement yesterday. He said, why is it that every time somebody speaks of farmers, whether it is Satpal Malik or Mr. Dhankar, they are made to pay the price? Look, under this regime, there are two major Jat appointments. One was Satpal Malik. We know what happened to him. And the second was Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar. And despite everything that he did, he ended up where he is. So there is that thing going. There are lots of things at play.
Which is true. In fact, this story is not over yet, Sandeep.
But I just want to say this: despite everything I did, it's a very common refrain. Without taking a name, the name of a person we've all discussed several times during this meeting, I remember is telling some of your friends in media when he was eased out of a ministry. I'm talking on the previous dispensation. He said, what did I do wrong? I named every institute and every offices I opened after the family. I didn't do anything of that, and still I was eased out of this role. Okay, this gentleman, you can probably guess, and he has found some amount of rehabilitation later on. But so everything I did, like every time somebody in Congress also revolts, people say the party did so much for him, and why is he now doing those things? I don't think hold in any kind of a professional but I would just only since Javed mentioned me on Smriti, I would say she's doing a brand reinvention, and yeah, that is something for Dilip to say. I don't think it would be something for immediate this thing that you'll see her sprung as a vice president candidate or as a BJP president candidate, as many are saying. She would not have signed on to Sasbi Kavi Bauthi and all that if those things were on the card. But my own last bit is, Priya, I am not in your circuit, but I know from different channels, Dilip would probably also know, some people who are really close to a dispensation at the highest level, they are not showing any kind of, anxiety like all of us or no murmurs. Some people have met people very close. They're absolutely chilled and relaxed. They're not even able to, whose names are being mentioned in various such contexts. I think lot of this, excitement or apprehension, as you're saying, it is in the periphery, in the media, and in the opposition, rather than at the core of the BJP's power center.
Or maybe they can't talk about it while we can, at least a little bit. Ashutosh.
See, Smriti suddenly has discovered that she's politically unemployable.
Yes.
Nobody leaves politics, being a cabinet minister, goes to do some serials. Second thing, I think what we are witnessing today, the people are chilled out. Similarly, people were chilled out during the communist regimes. Nobody opened up, everybody had a smile, and finally, one day you realize that you either ended up into the jail or the concentration camp. So the chilled out phenomenon is a very typical of an ideological state.
On that note, we're going to find out exactly how chilled out everybody is. We'll meet again next week and gather some more information as to what is happening in the political winds. But a stormy start to a monsoon session. I think the headlines couldn't have asked for more. On that note, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.